Hello and welcome to my presentation about business model basics. You know that we're talking about the software industry, and this presentation will give you some insight on how we can look at business models and what are the Lego blocks to build a business model, and I hope it will be interesting for you. So let's have a short look at what the motivation is for me to look at business models the way we do here. The first one is certainly that I'd like to just model how software companies work, what their business is, and also what the different Lego blocks are and how they are combined. And of course also to use the model to evaluate what's going on in the company's business. And as a follow-up discussion and also presentation, we can also look at the revenue models. And we can use that information to select the right software partner ecosystem and also to use these Lego blocks to create new software businesses and according revenue models. Most of the information presented here relates to a book that was recently published called Profit from Software Ecosystems. Let us use a very simple model to construct businesses and business models here. So imagine one business, and the example here in italics is Microsoft. Microsoft has one or many business models, so they have several business models, you know, the live on-demand services, as well as the operating system, database, and other product software businesses. So I would like to call the business model everything that is, you know, a valid a business creating products for the customer. And each of these businesses consists of what I call business patterns. So for example, to provide product software to customers, you have to invent, you have to build the software, you have to sell it, you have to support it, and that's the different Lego blocks of the business model called product software business in our example. And as you can see, you can use it to step-by-step analyze the business models of different software vendors. So in the last slide we saw that a business model is made up of different business patterns. So what is a business pattern? What does it consist of? So basically in the last example we saw that Microsoft is creating product software. That's one of their business patterns, and it can be easily decomposed in saying, you know, what they're basically doing is they create something. That's the, you know, the work that is done, and they also create a certain type of result, so a certain good or certain service, in this case software, or as it can also be called an intangible good. And using that type of construction of business patterns, we can now look at even more types of goods and services as depicted on the left-hand side. So it could be financial goods, it could be physical goods, it could be software, or it could be a service like an architect service creating a plan or layout for a new home to be built. And we could also have additional business model archetypes. So besides the creator, there are several more, like somebody who is brokering, somebody who is manufacturing, somebody who is designing is shown on the left-hand side. And so there will be additional business model archetypes that we will see later. Now let's have a look at the complete list of combinations or business patterns that are shown inside the matrix. They're basically created by combining the types of goods and services with the business model archetypes. As mentioned in the slide before, we have different types of goods and services: financial goods, money, shares, and other financial products, physical products, everything that's manufactured that has physical character, like a book, a piece of wood, or something else. And then we have intangible goods, which are software, intellectual property rights, patents, and things like that. And we have human services, which is everything that's done by people. For example, an architect creating a plan for a new home to be built, or in the software business, a consultant who implements software. Looking at the business model archetypes, we mentioned them before. You basically have a creator, somebody who is designing something, who is inventing a product or a service. Then you have a distributor, somebody who brings products to the customer. Then you have a lessor, and it's somebody who rents something to a customer. So you can basically lend money. You can rent physical products like a car rental company. You can basically get usage rights for intangible goods. That's a very common business pattern in the software industry. And you can also lend people, quote unquote, so basically that's a consultant business called contractor. And last but not least, we have the broker. The broker is somebody who brings vendors and customers together. So the first one is a financial broker, a stockbroker. The second one is a broker of physical goods. So for example, eBay would be in that box there, in that business pattern. And then you also have brokers of intangible goods or intellectual property. So for example, one company running a patent brokerage would be in that business pattern. And then of course there's also an HR broker. So for example, somebody who's a headhunter, for example, brings the new employee in contact with the new employer, and is an HR broker business pattern. Since we're talking about the software industry here, let's have a look at typical business models in the software industry. So we looked at Microsoft in our example, and Microsoft is basically having one business model besides others in place, which is called software as a product here. So basically software is created and is delivered to the customer via download, for example. The customer gets usage rights, and Microsoft also provides services. And so the different business patterns, the one called inventor for creating intangible products, the IP lessor for lending the software, giving usage rights to the software to the customer, and then the contractor, which means Microsoft also provides maintenance, support, and consulting services to their customer. And basically these three Lego blocks make up the typical business model for software as a product. And that is valid for all software companies, and that's the good thing about this model, that you can use it for all software companies. Now let's have a look at a second emerging business model in the software industry, which is called software as a service. So in software as a service, we also meet the business patterns inventor, so the software is created, and also IP lesser, so the customer gets usage rights, and also the business pattern contractor, where the customer gets some services, and you can look inside the contractor there to see a first difference between product and software as a service. In this case, besides the maintenance and support services, the software vendor also provides the operating of the solutions. So the solutions are not shipped to the customer and operated at the customer site, but they are provided as a service, and thus there's an additional service in the contractor box, and also additional cost for the software vendor to operate the solutions. And you can also see that there's a new box, the physical lesser box, because this business pattern is also needed to run the business model for software as a service. This box is added because the software vendors also provide hardware usage to customers as part of software as a service. And this is the case because when you operate the software, you're also providing hardware usage for running the solutions, and this is why the box is added here. And we can see a difference already between software as a service and software as a product. So you basically have additional services like operating and hardware usage, and they also change the cost side of the business model because there's additional cost here for these services. So let's summarize what we learned in this presentation. We learned about business models, business patterns, and we also saw some examples and typical business models in the software industry. And that enables you to look at additional content and additional presentations, and also to analyze what's going on in the software industry. So thank you very much for listening.